The story is kind of interesting. Barney Garrity was the funeral director here before my dad. This business was started in a storefront right up the street on West Broadway, which was very typical in the 20s and 30s. That's what most funeral homes were. They were either old houses that were converted, or they were in some cases storefronts. And the location had 0 parking, 1 room. The family lived in the back part of it, Barney and Mary Garrity. Barney was part of a Garrity family that were all descendants of John Garrity, who became a farmer, or came from Ireland and was a farmer in Golden Valley. Not terribly far from here is a park called Garrity Park on 26th and Regent, and that's where the family farmstead was. When they sold off the property and it became the 1950s expansion of the community of Golden Valley, each one of his children received, or grandchildren received, some monies for that from that development, and Barney used his to build the building that we're in today. So he built it in 1954, and he lived in the building, and he moved from the storefront to here with a parking lot and so forth. It was a great advancement for him, and an exciting time for his family. So he had 5 kids living in this building, and his sons, Jim, who's gone now. Jim died a few years ago. Jim was considered to be the heir apparent to take over the funeral business here, but in the long run was not interested in doing so. So that's when Barney went looking for another person, and that was my dad. Robbinsdale, Minnesota, first suburb to the north of Minneapolis, an older suburb. Everything that's beyond us in Crystal and New Hope and Golden Valley was all farmland that was developed later on. There was founding families of the Parkers, the Shumways, and Mr. Robbins, who were the ones who put everything together here and developed this little town. It was the hub for the whole northwest area. So Robbinsdale was a very important focal point, and that's why this funeral home was here, begun in 1926, and on this same avenue on West Broadway since the day that it was founded. The other 2 locations, one in St. Louis Park, is 1 block from the house that I was raised in. So in 1982, the gentleman who owned that company approached my dad. His name was John Billman, and he was ready to retire, and he wanted to sell his location to somebody who knew the area and was connected. So my dad had moved up here in '73, and we went back to the old neighborhood 9 years later, and that building is still operated by me, and we take care of a lot of our old neighbors and high school friends and so forth from the south side, and St. Louis Park and Hopkins and Edina area, and a little bit of Minneapolis as well. So it's kind of a neighborhood place. It's smaller than the other 2, but it's been there, it was built the same year this building was built, 1954. The building in Plymouth is a little bit different story. That one I built in 1997. I went out looking for property in the early 90s to find a piece of property to expand from this building. This particular location was extremely busy. It did lots and lots of services for people throughout the whole northwest area, including Maple Grove and Plymouth and Corcoran and Loretto and all throughout that entire area. But the neighborhood was undergoing some change, and the areas out there were growing greatly. So it became necessary to build something to serve those families that had moved from here to the western part of the area. So a piece of property was found on 37th and Vicksburg Lane. It's almost directly due west of this building, and so we built the building out in that area to serve those people that had moved out and to the greater area that's in that general location. And it's been very successful. It's a busy place and serves all the people of that area well, and it was the right thing to do.